This year was weird. It quite possibly was one of the greatest years for video games. But when it comes to movies, looking back on a list of this year, I completely forgot that Dial of Destiny was released. D&D was a movie that came out. I completely forgot that the Marvels was even a thing. This year truly was the year for video games though, when it came to even video game adaptations. Most of them were actually pretty good. There were a ton of cool theatrical experiences when it came to the limited theater releases as well this year. When I was on vacation earlier, I got to see Pathan and that was pretty fun. The Sound of Freedom being an absolute heart-wrenching movie. Suzume and the Boy and the Heron were disappointments for me story-wise, but had some of the most gorgeous animation put to film. And most recently, Godzilla Minus One was one of the best movies of the year. When it came to video games though, Nintendo was holding the line with some of the best announcements and releases this year. I am still shocked about that Thousand Year Door remake. I recently got a PS5, so finally there's a handful of titles that I haven't played through yet or experienced. Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Wonder won't be on this list because I haven't fully beat them, but they're both wonderful experiences that have pushed both of their genres forward in new and exciting ways. Now, just because something isn't on this list doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I give extra points to things released this year, and I make the rule where I have to fully beat it or watch it. The Finals is a game I never imagined actually coming to form. A game where every single building is destructible. This is just chaos. Okay, so not the greatest movie of the year, but I had a lot of fun watching this with my group of friends and then eating Chinese food after. The first half of the movie is actually pretty great, with some really good edge-of-your-seat tension. I think it suffers in the second half, but for a video game movie that was in the making for almost a decade, this could have been so much worse. So I think this will be controversial. Across the Spider-Verse forwards animation in some of the most spectacular ways ever seen or brought to film before. Its stories and characters are brilliant, making you care about every aspect of their lives. The soundtrack is awesome. There's a great emotional core to everything. And of course, Spider-Man 2099. I think the only thing I can complain about really is that the beginning is a little slow, but that's all that I can really say. The ending is really good with how many spider people show up and villains. Sony, take your time with the third movie. If it's on the same level as this but better, I can wait another 5 years. Hi-Fi Rush is a game that was announced and dropped the next day, and wow. If you love music, this is the game for you in every aspect. This makes walking fun. The story, while it's okay in my opinion, the gameplay is where this shines, and its soundtrack just makes the entire world this living and breathing jukebox. It's not a AAA video game, but to have this much love and polish and effort come out of something like a little title that they just dumped, other companies need to take notice of this. This year really proved that Marvel needs to get their butt into gear starting next year. The superhero genre isn't necessarily dead, we're just tired of bad scripts and poor characters, which is something that Marvel has been doing for the last few years now. I haven't even had the heart to watch Ant-Man yet, or the Marvels, or practically anything Marvel related this year. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 turned that around completely though. A funny and full of heart movie with great characters. It finishes character arcs started all the way back in the first Guardians movie, and with one of the best voice performances done. It has a good, hateable villain for once. I love that nobody died because that would be actually pretty stupid in a movie filled with so much of it already. This has some of the best musical choices by James Gunn and probably one of the top 3 best fights in MCU history. Everyone's so scared of the way that he'll handle DC, and I think he's gonna do great things. I cannot wait for Superman's legacy. Bowser's Fury is one of the best 3D Mario games, but it's only about 5 hours long. I love this, and I hope that this is kind of what the future of Mario gives us, because for some extra add-on to an already great game, this is fantastic. Everything was meticulously placed and makes you want to explore every inch of the map, all guided by that sweet, sweet swing music. as a cat here. You can have Godzilla-sized battles with Bowser. Bowser's Fury is something that could have been a throwaway mode, but it was turned into an unforgettable Mario experience that will have something people can look back on saying it's a classic. So last year, The Long Dark was one of my favorite things I played through. So this year, I decided to give more survival games a chance. The Wild 8, it's basically just The Long Dark with a top-down perspective. Perfect. The Creator is a movie that comes only once in a while, it seems like. Excellent character arcs with an engaging story with some very impressively done visuals for a measly budget. As someone who has loved classic sci-fi shows, and to see it slowly go down the toilet, this was just a huge breath of fresh air. The music by Hans Zimmer is amazing, the performances are emotional and they have meaning. I don't necessarily need a sequel to this, leave this alone, Disney. Gareth Edwards has such a unique style to his filmmaking, and I wholeheartedly welcome the next original idea from his mind. So, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Whew. Is one of the greatest action movies to come out since RRR. I loved every single second of this movie. Tom Cruise, despite being 61, is still kicking butt and doing some of the most insane stunts ever put to film. I love that this was split into 2 parts because we can get a longer and stretched story that's not rushed. If the next movie is Ethan Hunt's last adventure, so be it. This franchise has been running for nearly 3 decades and has one of the most consistent hit after hit after hit. Dead Reckoning also is just great, and it has such an exciting ending and car chase sequence that just doesn't stop or let you go. Alright, so I know this movie isn't for everyone. I love the original 1993 film and have been dying to see a good video game adaptation done right. This year had a ton of great ones, but by far my favorite was the Mario movie. I saw this 5 times in the theater, and I loved it more and more and more. Of course, it doesn't have some of the best pacing or character arcs, but the rewatchability of the movie is something that I never expected. Not my favorite movie, but I could turn this on any day of the week and have a blast. I want to say that the music is my favorite aspect of the movie. To hear some of my favorite Mario tracks blasting loud and hard in the theater was wonderful, and I cannot wait to see where a sequel takes us, or even that new Zelda movie. Out of nowhere, this game appears and becomes one of the funniest,
There's a V8 engine in here?
Scariest. Okay, it's just a small little bug. That's not a small bug! And best video games I have played in a while.
Oh, just run, Chris.
Can't jump on the railing.
Why is it always me? Why? How is it always me?
I cannot tell you how much I have laughed at my friends and myself for our stupidity.
I might die with the landmine right here.
Landmine! Yeah, I can go down and get the spider. You!
Somebody died. I told you. I told you there was a landmine.
That was
What is 25? Oh my goodness!
The game, depending on who you play it with, can be hard. Jace is just taking off.
No! Jace, why?
I know for my little group, we haven't even gotten to the last couple moons because of how much we keep dying and not meeting the quota. So I'm gonna smack it, and then I will chase them this way, and then you grab it, okay?
Alright, you ready, Damien? Be ready to leave. Alright, I'm ready. Okay, you get him.
Okay. Lethal Company is something that I can see sticking around for the next few years, and I cannot wait to see what's added next.
Oh. Nice.
When it comes to adaptations, it can be very, very hard to nail down a proper one, but it can be done. One Piece is the best television show of the year. Give us season 2 on the double, because if they keep it up with the amount of respect for the source material, they can have a show that can be 8 to 9 seasons long. I love that they kept everything goofy while having some stuff play out a little more seriously this time. The cast here is immaculate. Everyone here is their character, and Luffy especially, he was probably the hardest to nail down, and they did it. I can't believe they did it. The show would have fallen apart if it wasn't for him casted properly. Zoro is excellent and exudes the cool and dumb attitude that he always has, and they used the 3 swords! Sanji, he's just Sanji, just a little more toned down this time, which I'm fine with. The music especially is something to be proud of, because they don't use the main theme until the perfect time. One Piece is something that every upcoming adaptation has to look at. They don't have to be this hyper over-the-top like Speed Racer, but it shows when you have respect for the source material and apply it to the script and to everything else, you're guaranteed a surefire hit. Easily the best thing that has been released this year is Godzilla Minus One. Everything about this movie is a 10 out of 10. Godzilla for me is my favorite franchise of all time. It overtakes everything for me. Coming from the standpoint of growing up watching Godzilla constantly and being in that weird limbo after Final Wars, this was the Godzilla movie that I have been waiting for since Final Wars. Everything that has been released since Godzilla 2014 has been missing key elements that I'm always walking away from, enjoying for the most part, but they've been missing that mark. Shin Godzilla got close, but looking back, it was a bit disappointing to be honest. Godzilla Minus One not only has some of the best monster action in the franchise's 70-year history, but has one of the most compelling, tragic, relatable, and interesting human stories told. As a Godzilla fan, I cannot tell you how satisfying and cool it was to walk into an IMAX theater packed to the brim with fellow fans of all ages decked out with their Godzilla shirts. That has never happened for me, even with the MonsterVerse movies or Shin Godzilla. To see also the reception from just the average Joe is astounding. This is a Japanese Godzilla movie that was not advertised, where you had to go and read subtitles in a theater, and people were raving about this with box office records being smashed left and right. For me, Godzilla Minus One will probably eventually end up in my top 5 favorite Godzilla movies. For 2 hours, my butt was glued to the seat and no one would have removed me from it. The whole time, I was just smiling ear to ear like a little kid. And when that wonderful Godzilla music came in, I was practically hyperventilating. Godzilla Minus One will go down in history as showing everyone as to how to properly budget a movie with amazing looking effects. I cannot stress how important and impressive this is. Godzilla Minus One is something I'll probably come back to over and over and over again as time goes on, and I cannot wait to see what Toho cooks up next.